So hey there everyone, this is Michael Angel with Fixitune, and this is video 3 out of 5 on 5 different types of EQs. The first one being program EQs, the second one being mix EQs, and now we're moving on to mastering EQs. So I think for the most part you'd probably agree with me that mastering is one of the most misunderstood things in recording. It would be easy for somebody to think that mastering is a lot simpler than recording and mixing because you're dealing only with the final stereo mix, typically, in a mastering. And a lot of people wonder, well, if I've already done the mix, then why do I need something different for mastering? Why can't I just use the same program? And although you can, like a lot of things, the reason that we do mastering a certain way, a lot of the things that we're doing in mastering today are certainly based upon how things have been done in the past. But the misconception that we use all of the same tools for mixing that we would for mastering, I would point out that there is a lot of crossover in the same way I've been talking about it in the previous 2 videos. There are a lot of EQs that are great for a track and great for mastering. And in fact, if you have something that is as high quality as really good mastering tools, you can imagine there's a really good chance that they're good with everything else. They just may not be the colorful or creative tool that you're looking for more on the song creation or song mixing level. But an important aspect of mastering is that you are focusing on something different. It's very possible you might even be best in a different studio environment altogether, where all focus is on the sound coming out of the speakers and the balance between songs and the overall feel of an album if you're dealing with an album. But certainly that each song is expressing its full potential within the context of what the listener is going to be hearing. So whether it's a playlist or an album, whether you're only dealing with a single, that single does need to have a certain amount of balance in comparison to other things that would be listened to. So anyway, that certainly has an effect on what kind of tools are the best tools for mastering. As far as EQ goes, it is typically up to the mastering engineer. Everybody has their favorite tools. But if we're talking about somebody learning mastering from scratch, you definitely need to have at least one mastering tool that is good for sculpting, dealing with critical issues, meaning something that needs to be corrected, and something very clean that does not seem to affect the original signal. So because of the quality level and because of traditional recording processes, the types of filters that have been created in something like a program EQ, like our classic Pultecs, if you can find 2 that are matched well for dual mono, or a newer design that is based around that form factor that is already stereo, program EQs like Pultecs make fantastic mastering devices. The only thing is that you want to know your equipment, having them serviced. You might even want to be the one that's making the decisions about what types of tubes are used, because those can have a profound effect on the signal flow and the way that the equipment performs. But we definitely live in a time where the digital environment is a high enough quality to where you can work inside the box and not compromise the quality of your recordings. A lot of traditional mastering houses are still using all hardware and will swear by it. Part of the logic behind that makes sense is that you need to be prepared to work with a master from any format, meaning you need to have tape machines that can run information in. But also because we do look at professional facilities often based on the equipment that they own. So it's a lot harder to explain your mastering setup if you have nothing but the same $500 laptop that somebody else has. Technically, you can get the job done that way with a great set of ears and a few good EQs. So I would say personally, the GML 8200, the Sontec series, Classic Original Sontec, and the Millennium Media NSEQ2 in its original mode with tube and solid state are 3 of my favorite mastering EQs. And there's lots of great stuff out there. There is great software out there. But the mix of flexibility and absolute clarity and detail, those are just 3 great examples of mastering EQs. One of the things about Sontec and the GML are being able to really hone in on very specific frequencies. And ironically, because of the incredibly clean signal and very few items in the signal path, you also have a little bit less accuracy to the actual filtering of the frequencies than what we think we have traditionally had. And that's with perfectly high spec devices down to ones that have not been serviced in a while. But the sound is absolutely incredible, and you can work by ear to get exactly what you're needing to tune into. The Millennia, I look at it as an example of something that is so pretty you can hear it, but it's always adding something better. So even if it's orchestral material or live performances that you typically don't want to hear any changes at all, I can almost always find a use for the Millennia Media in SEQ2 that makes things sound better. And so I love it as a mix EQ as well. And my only problem with that is deciding whether the subtle personality of something like a Pultec or something like the NSEQ2 is doing something prettier. So it's great to have coloring box EQs, things that are useful in making production decisions that you can absolutely hear. But you definitely want something on the super clean side like a GML or a Sontec as well. And Sontec is not always super clean. It depends on the exact year and model and what you're using and how you decide to use it. But they certainly have the capability of just creating amazing air and sweetening and helping to really notch out any sonic issues that need to be eliminated. So one thing that I would advise, and I'll certainly go into more detail when we're not just talking about EQs alone, but don't be afraid to make those critical issues sound the way that you think they need to be. Do be cautious, and I always say, listen to comparisons. There's no shame in wanting to check, double check, and recheck, not just on different systems, but comparing song final masters to other songs in that genre. Our ears and our brains can play tricks on us, and even the best mastering engineer in the world is still a human being. And we all have our times where we might burn out, we might get listening fatigue. The better you know yourself and the better you know material over time, the better you get at certain things. But you're never so good that you shouldn't second guess yourself a little bit and step back and listen, re-listen, get your ears freshened up, and compare to other things that you think sound good. And don't be so high-minded as a mastering engineer that you think that your equipment is perfect every day all the time. The truth of the matter is that the listening environment is incredibly important, but those wonderful analog devices are doing a lot of things that are not as spot on perfectly accurate as we may be giving them too much credit for. And it's the wonderful world of analog. We make decisions that sound the best to us. Sometimes those don't look nearly as linear as you would think you're getting in mastering. So I would say bring that into your digital environment as well. I see a lot of people, especially in their early days of production, that they have set such high standards for what they expect to see in analysis for all of their programs. Why is this, a half a point out of phase? Or, why is the latency not reading exactly the way that it should? Or, this doesn't look like a perfect straight line. Are you sure that it's accurate? Well, yes, there are things you want to make sure that you're not getting unintentional errors. Learn to realize the beauty of the nonlinearities that are intentional, that may be intentionally built into devices in digital so that they can sound and act more authentic like the original analog gear. Because the analog is certainly proven to, under the right circumstances, do wonderful things to recordings even at the mastering stage. So mastering is certainly about the equipment being used, but is certainly also about the pair of ears and the decision maker, which resides between those ears. The human brain and our emotional, spiritual, and decision-making skills to match the song and make those critical decisions that are going to make for an awesome sounding final recording. So I hope that helps. Mastering EQs usually make for a great mix EQ, usually make for a tracking EQ, make for a good bus EQ, make for a good everything else. But for an EQ to hold up to the standard of mastering, you basically want something that's not going to mess things up unless you really intend to do something extreme, that you only hear them if you really want to hear them, and that they're able to handle critical errors and fix problems that you have to remove in a mix. So I hope that helps. Thanks so much for watching the video. On to number 4 out of 5. And if you haven't already, please go to fixitune.com. Please click on forum and register. Come join our community online. Really need to grow this, and I'm excited to help a lot of you out to get your recordings sounding exactly like you want them to sound. So it's totally free to join, and If you liked this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and let others know on Facebook and Twitter and wherever you hang out online. Thanks so much and God bless you. Bye-bye.